Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ghanatam Sham Sharadava Nalalida Loka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Prapta Sakalyanam Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Prapta Sakalyanam Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Charanaravrindam Vande Guru Shri Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Manasura Sena Mahaprabhu ki Tana Nitya Gita Vaditra Madhyam Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Shri Vigrahara Dhana Nityanana Shringara Tanma Dirama Janado Shri Vigrahara Dhana Shringara Tanma Juktasya Bhaktamsya Neyunjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satanna Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangham Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satanna Triptan Kridvaiva Triptin Bhajata Sadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Shradikama Gavayara Para Madhurya Lila Gunarupa Namna Shri Radhikama Gavayara Para Madhura Lila Gunarupa Namna Pratikshana Sa Dhanalalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Nekunja Yuno Ratikeli Siddhai Jajali Bhir Yukti Apekshaniya Nekunja Yuno Tatratidakya Ativalabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanaravrindam Ativalabhasya Sakyardharitena Samasta Shastri Uktastatthava Vyataiva Sadhavi Sakyardharitena Samasta Shastri Kintu Prabhoja Priya Eva Tasya Vande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasado Yasya Prasadam Nagati Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yashastrin Sandhyam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Dayam Stuvam Stasha Yashastrin Sandhyam Bande Gurashi Charanaravrindam Yashastrin Sandhyam Bande Gurashi Charanara Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitina Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Patata Deshatarine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunavadi Patata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pariyaraye Namah, Krishna Jadavaye Namah, Jadavaye Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah, Gopal Govindaram Shrimadhusudam, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hare Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghuna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghuna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Haribo, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Shri Radha, Nila Madhava Radha, Radha. Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadrama, Jaya Sudarshan Chakra. Jaya Sitaram, Sitaram, Jaya Lakshman Hanuman. Haribo, Nitai go, Haribo, Nitai go, Rapramanande, Haribo. Jaya Vishnu Paramansa Prabha Jagachari Suttara Sarasishimat Iskon Pratishta Bibiti Samstapakachar Vaishnav Siramani Gaura Priyajana Krishna Prima Bhaktidatta Patita Pavana. His divine grace Abhoch Ravina Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ji Ki Jai, Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patiti Udhari Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatra Gunata Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Gunasat Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai, Ananta Guru Vaishnava Vrindi Ki Jai, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय। जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम सच्चिदानंद स्मरण गुरु चैतन्य महाप्रभु गुरु हरि महावरण अवतार की जय। गौरकेर प्रमधान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जग की जय। जुग धर्म हरे कृष्णा महामंत्र की जय। बृहत निदांग ट्रांसलेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रज भूमि वृंदावन मथुर धाम की जय। देलो शिव श्री श्री राधा नीलमाधव की जय। श्री श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप एक चक्रधाम की जय। परम करुण श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम चित्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु श्रीमती सुभद्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनशन कर सिंहरे भगवान की जय। गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्रीमती राधा रानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौरी प्रमानंदे। All glories to the Sambal bodies. All glories to the Sambal bodies. All glories to the Sambal bodies. All glories to Shri Guru Shri Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Prahlada Lada Daine. Prahlada Lada Daine. Hiranyakashipu Rakshaha. Shiladanka Kalae. Shiladanka Kalae. Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Narsimha Parato Narsimha. Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha. Yami Tato Narsimha. Bahe Narsimha. Ridane Narsimha. Narsimha Ridane Narsimha. Narasimha Madhim Saranam Prapade. Narasimhamadhim Saranam Prapade. Narasimhamadhim Saranam Prapade. Narasimhamadhim Saranam Prapade. Tava Karav Kamalabare Nakham Adbhuta Singham Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubinga Keshavadita Narari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Avakaraham Nakam Adbhuta Singham Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubinga Keshavadita Narari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare जय केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरि रूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय श्री नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय शील प्रभुपाद की जय
श्री वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रिय के सब सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः वृंदाई तुलसी देवाय प्रिय के सब सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी देवाय प्रिय के सब सत्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रादे देवी सत्यवताय नमो नमः जय श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी देवी की
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः
राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो अभिलाषी
राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो अभिलाषी
राधा कृष्णा सेवा पावो अभिलाषी
राधा कृष्ण सेवा
જે તો મારા શરણ લો તારા વંચ પૂરણ હો કૃપા કોરી કોરો તારે વૃંદાવન વાસી મોરાએ અભિલાષ વિલાસ કુંજ દિયો વાસ નયને હરિબો સદા યુગલ રૂપરાસી এই নিবেদন ধারো সাক্ষীর অনুগাতা করো সেবাধিকারা দিয়ে করো নিজ দাসী বিনা কৃষ্ণ দাসে কোয়ে না মোরা হয়ে श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदा ये न भासी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः
तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः
यानि कानि च पापानि भ्रमाहत्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे
जानि कानि च पापानि प्रमाहत्यधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्याधिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणाशन्ति प्रदक्षिणा पदे पदे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
राम राम हरे हरे जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय तुलसी महारानी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी जय वृंदा देवी नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नित्याय गौरा हरि बोल। श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय।
श्री वृंदायै तुलसी बाई प्रियायै केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी सत्तवताय नमो नमः। वृंदायै तुलसी देव्याय प्रियायै केशव सत्य विष्णु भक्ति प्रादे देवी सत्तवताय नमो नमः। वृंदायै तुलसी देवाय प्रियायै केशव सत्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रादे देवी सत्तवताय नमो नमः। जय श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी वृंदा देवी की जय। Oh Tulsi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure grove of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus, within my vision, I would always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower carrying the emissaries of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant Krishna praise. May I always swim in love with Shri Radha and Govind. Shri Mate Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikhastakam ki jai. Chaito Darpana Mahajanam Bhavamahada Bhagni Nirvapanam Shri Akariva Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vajo Jevanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Padipadam Purnamrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Vijayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakai Raudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Shmarane Nakala Adishitava Vipaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaiva Midisham Yajanina Nuraga Vinadapi Sinichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sada Hari Na dhanam na janam na sundarim Kavitamba jagadishaka maye Mama janmani janmanishari Bhavata bhakti rahituki tvayi Oinanda tanuja kinkaram Paritamam vishame bhavam budau Kripaya tava pada pankaja Stita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya Nayanam galavara dharaya Vadanam gadagada gira Pulakai nichitam vapukada Tavanama grahane bhavisati Juga itam nimishena Chakshusa pravrusa itam Shunya itam jagata sarvam Govinda virahena me Asli shava padaratam pinastuma Adarshana marmahatam karotu va Jatha tatha va vidadhatulam patu Mat pranatastu saivana paro Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Kyastakam Ki Jai. Namo Mahavarannaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya, Namine Gauratishe Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamine Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine, Nivishesha Shunnavadi, Pachatyari Satarine. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life for the period of birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus we have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your casual devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and will the hairs of my body stand on the end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and it should remain so, even if sunders me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Kristakam Ki Jai. There are 10 offenses in matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicated life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in pursuance of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the fearless person about the glories of the holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees, they can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jaivancha kalpataruvescha kripa sindhu vyaivacha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namah. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Shri Guru Vandana Guru Pranam Mangala Charan ki jai. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakchurumilitam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jota Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatha Vintam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devim Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunnavadi Pasatyari Satarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhana Videvi Deitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhujjala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine
Rupanuga Virudapa Absiddhanta Namo Gora Kishwaraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambara Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gora Vir Bhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhuma Shri Jaganataya Te Namaha Vanshakalpa Turabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gurujase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhakta Avataram Bhaktakam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopipa Kanta Radhakanta Namastute Jayatam Suratur Pangor Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsarva Swapadambujo Radha Madana Mohano Divya Drindaranya Kalpradumadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prestali Bihi Sevimana Smarami Shiman Rasa Rasaram Bivam Siva Tatastita Karsan Venuswanir Gopir Gopinatak Striyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gurgadhara Shivasri Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Satma Sakalpa Riksha Laksha Vritesa Suradhira Abhilantam Ajmi Sahasra Satasambram Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam Bharhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Kotikamaniya Visesha Sobham Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sadvanamarya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranaya Keli Kalavilasa Shamam Tribanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritti Shanti Manti Basyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Advaitam Achutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vedesa Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Pantastakoti Vatsara Samprakam Yovayora Tapi Manasoguni Pungamanam Soplasti Yaprapada Simya Vichinti Tatre Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Kopya Sora Chayatum Jagaranda Kotim Yashakti Rasti Jagaranda Chayaganta Dantarasta Paramanu Chayantarasta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Yad Bhava Bhavita Dio Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Saniyanabusa Suktarya Mevi Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Ananda Chinmayara Sapati Bhavita Bistabirya Evini Chirupa Taya Kalabi Koloka Evini Visata Kilatma Bhutta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidesa Vilokanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Menatista Nanavatar Makaro Bhuvanesa Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhat Paramam Pumanyo Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanta Koti Swasesa Vasudadi Vibhuti Vianam Tad Brahmaniskalam and Antamasesa Bhutam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Maya Hiyasya Jagadanta Satani Sute Traigunya Tad Visayaveda Vitayamanam Sattva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Ananda Chinmayara Satmataya Manasuya Praninam Pativulam Smartama Petya Lilaya Tena Bhuvanani Chayaya Jasran Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Goloka Namni Nichadamni Tale Chatasya Devi Maheswari Dama Sutesha Tesha Tete Prabhavini Chaya Vitashtayena Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Shististati Pralaya Sadhava Sakti Reka Chayevi Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichana Rupamapi Yasya Chitesa Tesa Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Kshiram Yata Dadivikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nayatata Pritakasti Yasambutama Pitata Sampatya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Departure Devhita Santanam Abdipetya Dipayate Viviteta Samana Dharma Yastaja Gevhicha Vishutaya Vibhati Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Yakarna Narna Vajale Balitismi Yoga Nidramananta Jagadanam Suramukuba Adhara Sakti Mavalambya Puram Samurtim Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Yasyaka Nisvasita Kalamata Valambya Jivanti Loma Villaja Jagadanta Nata Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalavi Sesu Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Basmanya Tasma Sakalisha Nijesu Teja Swiyam Kiyat Prikatya Tapitadra Datra Brahmaya Isa Jagadanda Vidanda Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Yat Pada Palava Yugambani Dayakum Badwande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignan Vihanta Malamasi Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Agni Mahika Ganamambu Marudi Sasya Kalash Tatakumana Siti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Ancha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Yaschak Suresa Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Sesa Teja Tasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayasta Pamsi Brahmadi Kita Patagava Tehasta Jiva Yadata Matra Vibhava Prakata Prabhava Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Yastrindra Gopal Matavendra Mahosva Karma Vandana Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Nidhati Tinchirubati Bhakjam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Yam Kroda Kama Samaja Pranayada Biti Vatsaya Mahaguru Gaurava Sevi Bhad Sanchinti Tasya Sadhu Sintanamapurete Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bachami Shriya Kanta Kanta Paramapurusha Kapotara Vajramabu Mishchitamani Kanamaito Amritam Kataganam Natyam Kamanam Apivam Sipriya Saki Chiranandam Jyotiparam Apita Dasvajam Abhicha Sayatra Shiradi Vishavadi Shirabi Byastu Suma Nimesar Dakyo Vavrajtina Yatra Pisamaya Vajeswita Dupam Tamaham Il Golokam Itiam Vidantaste Santakshiti Virachara Katipaya Shri Guru Vastika prayers Kichedi. Spiritual message receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as the cloud pours water on the forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire materially are from my respectful base unto the lotus feet. Such spiritual master, who's an ocean of auspicious qualities, chanting the holy name, dancing next to you, singing, playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the sanctity moon of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion with his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end. He feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves off my respectful places unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in temple worship, Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship. The Lord, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, and there's that which is liquid, junk, and suck. When the spiritual master sees that the devotee is satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasadi, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conscious capacity of Radhika Madhava, and they call these names and forms the spiritual master as far as the relativities at every moment. For my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert in assisting the gopis who at different times with different tastes for revenge and for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal love and creation in the groves of Vrindavan. For my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master. The spiritual master to be honored as much the Supreme Lord because he's the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I have my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such spiritual master, bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantha Raja Ki Jai, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Tanvahi Asad, Ritibir Akshibir Ye, Parahitantar Manasa Paresa, Ato Napasyanti Urugaya Nunam, Yete Padanya Savilasa Lakshya. Tan, the lotus feet of the Lord, Vai, certainly, he, for, asat, materialistic, vitibi, by those who are influenced by external energy, akshibi, by the senses, ye, those, parahrita, missing at a distance, anta manasa, of the internal mind, paresa, O Supreme, ato, therefore, na, never, pasyanti, can see, urugaya, O great, nunam, but, yea, those who, te, your, padanyasa, activities, vilasa, transcendental enjoyment, lakshya, those who see. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. O great Supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see your lotus feet, but they are seen by your pure devotees, who one and only aim is to transcendentally enjoy your activities. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 1861, the Lord is situated in everyone's heart. It is natural that one should be able to see the Lord at least within himself, but that is not possible for those whose internal vision has been covered by external activities. The pure soul, which is symptomized by consciousness, can be easily perceived even by a common man because consciousness is spread all over the body. The yoga system, as recommended in Bhagavad Gita, is to concentrate the mental activities internally and thus see the lotus feet of the Lord within oneself. But there are many so-called yogis who have no concern with the Lord, but are only concerned with consciousness, which they accept as the final realization. Such realization of consciousness is taught by Bhagavad Gita within only a few minutes, whereas so-called yogis take continuous years to realize it because of their offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord. The greatest offense is to deny the existence of the Lord as separate from individual souls, or to accept the Lord and his individual soul as one and the same. The impersonalists misinterpret the theory of reflection, and thus they wrongly accept the individual consciousness as the supreme consciousness. The theory of reflection of the supreme can be clearly understood without difficulty by any sincere common man. When there is a reflection of the sky on the water, both the sky and the stars are seen within the water. But it is understood that the sky and the stars are not to be accepted on the same level. The stars are parts of the sky, and therefore they cannot be equal to the whole. The sky is the whole, and the stars are parts. They cannot be one and the same. Transcendentalists who do not accept the supreme consciousness as separate from the individual consciousness are as offensive as the materialists who deny even the existence of the Lord. Such offenders cannot actually see the lotus feet of the Lord within themselves, nor are they even able to see the devotees of the Lord. The devotees of the Lord are so kind that they roam all places to enlighten people in God consciousness. The offenders, however, lose the chance to receive the Lord's devotees, although the offenseless common man is at once influenced by the devotee's presence. In this connection, there is an interesting story of a hunter and Devarsi Narada. A hunter in the forest, although a great sinner, was not an intentional offender. He was at once influenced by the presence of Narada, and he agreed to take the path of devotion, leaving aside his hearth and home. But the offenders, Nalakuvara and Manigriva, even though living amongst the demigods, had to undergo punishment of becoming trees in their next lives, although by the grace of a devotee they were later delivered by the Lord. Offenders have to wait until they receive the mercy of the devotees, and then they can become eligible to see the lotus feet of the Lord within themselves. But due to their offenses and extreme materialism, they cannot see even the devotees of the Lord. Engaged in external activities, they kill the internal vision. The Lord's devotees, however, do not mind the offenses of the foolish in their many gross and subtle bodily endeavors. The Lord's devotees continue to bestow the blessings of devotion upon all offenders without hesitation. That is the nature of devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O great Supreme Lord, offensive persons whose internal vision has been too affected by external materialistic activities cannot see your lotus feet, but they are seen by your pure devotees, whose one and only aim is to transcendently enjoy your activities. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we hear the unique one-track mind of the devotee. The unique one-track mind of the devotee is to relish the transcendental activities of the Lord. And they're not interested in mundane news about the material world, what's happening day after day. It's the same thing, birth, death, old age, and disease. They're not interested in stock market quotes. They're not interested in baseball, football, basketball. They're not interested in soccer or cricket. They're not interested in sex. They're not interested in making money. They're interested in relishing the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, and therefore the majority of their time is dealing with Atma Tattva and Krishna Katha. So the science of the soul, or Atma Tattva, is a big subject, and the Krishna Katha is an unending flow of transcendental ecstasy for the devotee. So, therefore, we see this gigantic dichotomy between the preoccupation of the devotee and the preoccupation of the materialist, whose main preoccupation is money and sex and sleep. So at night they sleep and have sex, and during the day they try to make as much money as possible. In this way, people lose the opportunity for Atma Tattva, the science of the soul, and Krishna Katha, the science of Krishna. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, 1861, the Lord is situated in everyone's heart. It is natural that one should be able to see the Lord at least within himself. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hirdese rijunatistati pramayan sarvabhutani yantarudrani mayaya. So it's a very interesting verse. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of material energy. So what's the machine made of material energy? That's the body. And people in illusion are concerned mostly with the body and nothing else. So, therefore, they're missing so much reality because they've pinpointed themselves on the body and the maintenance of the body, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So, in the purport to 1861, it says, Arjuna was not the supreme knower, and his decision to fight or not to fight was confined to his limited discretion. Discretion means how you perceive things. So, when we are more concerned with the body, our discretion is very, very limited. Lord Krishna instructed that the individual is not all in all. The Supreme Personality Godhead, or He Himself, Krishna, as the localized super soul, sits in the heart directing the living being. So this is the realization of the devotee, that he's not alone in this body, that his soul, his individual soul, is there, present somewhere in the heart, and also the super soul, or the Paramatma, is there. So the living entity is never alone. Of course, people pant and have pine and have feelings of loneliness, but that's an illusion. They're never lonely because Krishna is always accompanying them in the heart. So after changing bodies, the living entity forgets his past deeds, but the super soul, as the knower of the past, present, and future, remains the witness of all his activities. Okay. Therefore, all the activities of living entities are directed by this super soul. The living entity gets what he deserves and is carried by the material body, which is created in the material energy under the direction of the super soul. As soon as a living entity is placed in a particular type of body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. A person seated in a high-speed motor car goes faster than one seated in a slower car, although the living entities, the drivers, may be the same. Similarly, by the order of the Supreme Soul, material nature fashions a particular type of body to a particular type of living entity, so that he may work according to his past desires. The living entity is not independent. One should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender, and that is the injunction of the next verse. Well, the next verse says, Tam iva saranam gacha sarvabhavina bharata tat prasadat param santim stanam prapsyasi sasvatam. O Skyan of Bharata, Arjuna, surrender unto him utterly. By his grace, you will attain transcendental peace and the supreme and eternal abode. So, as we see, the solution to the problem is rather easy and natural. We are all subordinate to Krishna. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. We have all been in a relationship with Krishna, and that relationship is eternal. But due to being attracted by the material nature and desiring to dominate some part of it and exploit it and enjoy it, we've become blind, and therefore we're not seeing the truth anymore about our relationship with Krishna. We're only seeing the body and how it can engage in sense gratification by exploiting nature and people. So that's a very limited perspective. We're missing most of reality due to that obsession for dominance and sense gratification. Yeah. So we don't see, we falsely see that we're independent, but actually every one of our actions is controlled. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean there's no free will? No. It means that man proposes, God disposes. As soon as we have desire, material desire, Krishna will give the facility to attain that desire, or at least think that you can attain it. So it's as if there is a charted pathway or segue from one desire to another, and Krishna, and we cannot achieve our desires without the help of Krishna. Now, the more we desire material things, the more we become entrapped and limited in our perspective. So, therefore, one should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we see that philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and the existentialist philosophers and others falsely claim that we are condemned to be independent, whatever that means. In other words, there's no God, and we're all independent individuals in the material world, and we have to decide every minute who we are and what we are and what we're going to do. And whatever we decide is good, even if it's bad. So this type of crazy philosophy called existentialism, materialistic existentialism, teaches people that you are independent and whatever you think is good. Yatamat tatapat, as many opinions, as many truths, as they say in Bengali. But no, that's not a fact. There is the supreme absolute truth, and then there is Maya. That is the real situation of the world. Or Maya means illusion. So in this purport to 1862, it says, a living entity should therefore surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in everyone's heart. And that will relieve him from all kinds of miseries of this material existence. Wow, that's good news. But how many people believe it? Not many, unfortunately, because they've been duped, D-U-P-E-D, that means fooled or cheated into believing that we're all independent and there's no God and there's no real purpose to life. Any purpose that you make up in your mind, that's valid. This is all crazy philosophy. And it's not even philosophy, it's just crazy speculation. So, the personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart, and that will relieve a person from all kinds of miseries of this material existence. That's if we surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By such surrender, not only will one be released from all miseries in this life, but at the end he will reach the Supreme Godhead. The transcendental world is described in the Vedic literature, Rig Veda 1.22.20, as Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. Since all of creation is the kingdom of God, everything material is actually spiritual. Wow. Now, how many people believe that? But Paramam Padam specifically refers to the eternal abode, which is called the spiritual sky or Vaikuntha. In the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is stated, Sarvashachaham Hridisannivista. The Lord is seated in everyone's heart. So this recommendation that one should surrender unto the super soul sitting within means that one should surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Krishna has already been accepted by Arjuna as the Supreme. He was accepted in the 10th chapter, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma. Arjuna has accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the supreme abode of all living entities, not only because of his personal experience, but also because of the evidence of great authorities like Narada, Asita, Devala, and Vyasa. Okay, so these two verses, 1861 and 1862, are very significant because it explains what is our real position. We're not independent. We are always dependent on the mercy of the Lord. We cannot do anything without the help of the Lord, whether it's something pious or impious. Both ways he has to help us to achieve our goals. So, if we correctly choose to surrender unto the Lord, then all our problems will go away. And if we choose consistently not to surrender to the Lord, all our problems increase. So there was a famous Russian experimental psychologist named Pavlov, and he was trying to understand things about human beings by studying rats or mice. So he would make what's called a maze, M-A-Z-E. That is, there's one door, and when you enter that door, there's only two ways you can go, either left or right. So he put an electric shock on the right side and some cheese on the left side. So the rats or the mice would enter the door of the maze. A maze is a very, very confusing construct of many corridors. So you can either go left or right. In both ways, there's so many different corridors, left, right, straight, and so forth, that you get confused and you can stay forever in the maze, or if you're lucky, you can get out. So every time the mouse went right, it got an electric shock. And every time it turned left, it got some cheese. So eventually, the mice started keep going only left and not avoiding going right. And to his amazement, the amazement of Pavlov, the next generation only went left, never went right. So, therefore, there was some kind of maybe genetic or of communication from one generation to another. So this was very interesting. Now you see that mice are smarter than human beings, right? Because human beings, even though they're being zapped all the time by Maya, by going right, they continue to do it. And it causes them tremendous misery and changing of bodies, but still they continue doing it. So this is the tragedy of modern education, which continually will educate in falsely one generation after another to keep turning right and getting zapped, right? And they think, and they preclude the possibility of making any spiritual advancement because they say God is a fantasy. It doesn't exist. And the spiritual world is a fantasy. It doesn't exist. And reincarnation is a fantasy. You only live once. And when you die, everything is over. So they are precluding any possibility of making spiritual advancement by teaching these things. And how do they teach them? They teach them in the name of science. This is the amazing point. In science, false doctrines. And people go for it. So, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, first chapter, second verse, Shrota Vyadini Rajendra Nirnam Santi Sahasra Rasa Apasyatam Atmatatvam Grihesu Grihimedinam. It's a very interesting verse. It says that those who are too much attached to family affairs, Grihesu Grihamedinam, they are Grihamedis, too much attached to family affairs, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. One generation, two generations, three generations, right? So the Grihamedi means one who has made his center of activity the home. He is called Grihamedi. So there are two words, Grihamedi and Grihasta. So what is the significance of these two words? So someone is called a Grihasta, and their abode is called Grihasta Ashram. Why? Because whenever you speak of ashram, it's got a spiritual relationship. So, therefore, there's the Grihastha ashram, there's the Brahmacharya ashram, Grihastha ashram, Vanaprastha ashram, Samadhi, Sannyasa ashram. So, therefore, to remain with family and children is not a disqualification. It's, in other words, remaining with the family and being married and taking responsibility is not a disqualification for spiritual advancement of life. Because after all, one has to take birth from a mother and father. So all the great acharyas, they all had mother and father. They all had a family. They were all members of a family, right? They all come from a mother and father. So without the combination of mother and father, there's no possibility of begetting a great soul. And there are many great souls like Sankaracharya and Jesus Christ and Ramanujacharya. They all had mothers and fathers, and their mothers and fathers were all rather modest. They were not like rich or famous, right? And they all came out of the Grihastha ashram, father and mother. So Grihastha, or householder life, is not a disqualification for spiritual life. We should not think like that only the brahmacharis and sannyasis can make spiritual advancement. They can elevate to the spiritual platform, whereas those who are living with wife and children, they cannot? No, that's not a fact. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has clearly stated in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kiba Viprakiba Nasi Sudra Keninaya. Ye Krishna Tattva Veda Sudra Se Guru Haya. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 8, 1.28. Lord Chaitanya says, it doesn't matter whether a person is a grihastha or a sannyasi or a brahmana or not a brahmana. It doesn't matter. Simply if one is Krishna conscious, if he is elevated in Krishna consciousness, in other words, if he knows the science of Krishna, which we're going to discuss in future lectures very much in detail, it doesn't matter. Such a person is eligible to become spiritual master. Ye Krishna Tattvaveta say Guru Haya. Tattvaveta means one who knows about the science of Krishna. That means one who is fully Krishna conscious. Say Guru Haya. Say means he, Guru means spiritual master. He doesn't say that one has to become a sannyasi or a brahmachari. Then he can be a guru. No. But here the word is used grihamedi, not grihastha. So grihamedi. And the grihastha is not condemned if one lives in a regulated principle with wife and children. So that is not a disqualification. But grihamedi means he has no higher purpose in life or idea or higher understanding of spiritual life. Simply he's living with wife and children like cats and dogs, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. He's called a grihamedi. That's the difference between the two words, grihamedi and grihastha. Grihastha ashram means there's spiritual connection to Krishna in the house with the family members. And grihamedi means there's no connection, just eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So therefore, in this verse, Sukadeva Goswami, second canto, first chapter, and that's verse number 2, he says, Grihesu grihamedinam. One who does not know anything about this family life or sex life, they have taken as sex life. That's all. So they have many things to hear. Shrota vyadini rajendra nirnam santi sahasra saha. They have many things to hear. So people are reading many newspapers. In some places, I know in America, they're printing same newspaper 3 times a day. In other words, morning news, afternoon news, evening news. Did you know that? Yeah, there are newspapers like that in America. Now they they started reducing all that because people are not reading newspapers anymore. And so they only have one edition a day. And then now, because people are getting all their news from the internet, they're going on the internet also and not printing anymore, wasting trees. So you see, culture is changing. So if the Grihasta is one who makes a temple in his house, and everybody in the house follows regulative principles, going to sleep at the same time, waking up at the same time, engaging in spiritual activity in the Brahma Muhurta, and then getting ready to either go to school or go to work. And so they're regulated, right? And the Grihamedis, they're not regulated. They're just engaged in eating, sleeping, having sex, and making money, right? So there's a big world of difference between the two. So it says, people are reading so many newspapers. In big country, big cities, there are big, big volumes of newspapers and magazines. They are very much eager to learn or to hear about the current events. So hearing means shrota vyadi. There are volumes of literature, magazines, newspaper. They are hearing. But when you say, please come here, we are reciting Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, please hear this, they will not come. They will not come. When you speak of God, then they are not ready to hear. But if you speak of dog, oh, here is dog's medicine. You can maintain a dog like this, and a dog can become fatty like this. Oh, it is very scientific matter, you see. So they are called Grihamedis. They have got many subject matters to hear, but they're not agreeable to hear only one thing about God. So that's the Grihamedi. And there's most population is Grihamedi. So then, apasyatam atpatatvam. They do not know what is self-realization. Apasyatam. Pasyati means to see. When it says apasya, it means they don't see. They don't see the reality in life. They only see the false shadow and perverted shadow of reality. So, like when you're in your car and you're looking out the driver's side window on a dark night, you see an image of yourself. Right? So that is seeing a shadow image, a perverted shadow image of yourself in the darkness. Right? So what you're seeing is actually not you, but it looks like you. Right? And it's in darkness. It's not in the light. And when there's sunlight, you won't see that. When it's dark, you only see it. So it's completely illusory. Okay, so then it says that they are thinking that the body is the self. These are the Grihamedis. Therefore, they're very poorly thoughtful. They don't really think clearly. In the Srimad Bhagavatam and in other places it's stated, Yasyatma buddhi kunape chidatuke swadi kalatra disu bahomna ichadi. So it's a very important verse, and it says that every day we're experiencing, I am not this body. The body is growing, but I'm still there. In other words, the body is changing all the time, right? There are so many instances, but we cannot understand that we are not this body, although we're seeing it. Apasyatam atvatatvam. They see it, but they don't understand what they're seeing. Atma means the soul, but there are various meanings of Atma. It can mean the body, it can mean the mind, it can mean the soul, or it can mean Paramatma, the Supreme Lord. So when it says, and Tattva, or Tattva means the truth, okay, or philosophy or science. So they do not know the science of Atma, or Atma Tattva. These are the Grihamedis. Either they take it body or mind. Right? So Freud, for him, he was concerned with body and mind only, nothing else. He did not consider the soul. He did not consider God. He thought it was a waste of time to talk about God. He was an atheist, you know, and he was just talking mainly about sex. So, he became famous talking about sex and saying there's no God. It's an opium. He said religion is the opium of the people. It's a hallucinatory drug, right? Comparing belief in God as a hallucinatory drug. These are all demons, but yet you have Freud, you have Darwin, and you have Marx. Three big demons. And these are the people that have influenced society tremendously. Right? So, there are many different, let's say, sciences for the body. There's medical department, there's health department, and all these different departments, and all based on the body. So then higher than the body is Atma, or the mind. So the word Atma can refer to the body, it can refer to the mind, it can refer to the soul, it can refer to Paramatma. There are psychological department, the speculation department, the philosophical department. So there's so many departments of education for the body and for the mind. Then the intellectual department. But there's no department for the Atma, the soul. That is the defect of modern civilization and modern education. That's the defect. And that's why people don't succeed in life. Success is liberating yourself from the cycle of birth and death and developing pure love for Krishna. Very few people are achieving that success. Very, very few. You can count them on your hands. Out of the trillions of people in the world today, you can count a few really elevated people who have understood their eternal relationship with Krishna. That is the defect of the modern civilization. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita says, Apasyatam atmatatvam grihesu grihamedinam. They have no information of the real Atma, of the real position, the real background of all these activities. They do not see it. Therefore, they have got many subject matters to hear about this body, about this mind, about intellectual activities, so many things. But because they do not know that Atma means the self, they do not know, therefore they have got many subject matters except this one, the soul, the subject matter of soul. Apasyatam atmatatvam grihesu grihamedinam, 2.1.2 Srimad Bhagavatam. And why they are so much ignorant? Because they have made home as the center of activities. They do not know, neither they are educated. It is not their fault. The system of education is faulty. See, there it is. Prabhupada says it's not their fault. They're being misled by the so-called institutions of education. Harvard, Stanford, University of Washington, all these institutions of knowledge, they're being misled by them to focus only on the body and stay attached to family, the mundane family, the Grihamedi family, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Okay, so they have made home as the center of activities. Neither they are educated, but it's not their fault. The system of education is faulty. They do not give any education about Atma Tattvam, the science of the soul. They give education about economic development, about technological understanding, about scientific understanding of the laws of nature, and so many other things. But there is no department of knowledge to understand what is soul. Apasyatam, they don't see. Because they do not see, they do not know. Therefore, they are too much attached to this body, and this body means home, and home means wife, and wife means children. Children means money. Money means society. So many things. Prabhupada is really very, very expert explaining this. So, Ata Griha Chetra Sutapta Vitar Janashim Mohoyam Hammameti. So, 5th canto, 5th chapter, verse number 8. The first thing is that the material world is existing on sex attraction. That's why we came to the material world. We didn't come to eat meat. We didn't come to smoke ganja. We didn't come to gamble. We came here for sex, sense gratification. That's why we fell down from the spiritual world. Right? And that's, by the way, if you read the Bible, the story of Adam and Eve, you'll see that the devil convinced Eve that there was a type of sense gratification that God was hiding from her. And that's why he forbade eating from the tree, the apple tree of knowledge and basically misery. So, material knowledge will lead to misery. So, there were many trees in the Garden of Eden. There was one tree God said, "Don't eat from this tree," and that was the only rule He made. There were no other rules. It was just that one rule: don't eat from this tree. Right? But the devil convinced Eve that eating the apple from that tree would reveal to her a much greater type of sense gratification that she had never had. And she does it. And then as soon as she does it, she feels shame, she feels guilt, she feels afraid. And what did she do? Misery likes company. So she convinces Adam to bite the apple also. And then he also becomes shameful and fearful. And God comes and said, "What did you do? I told you that you have all these trees. You can have any fruit you want. You have all the peace. You have all the happiness. And you went ahead and ate from the one tree I told you not to eat from." And yes, and who convinced them? The devil. So modern education is the devil. It's misleading people and the most vulnerable people, kids. And then once they get misled, they'll go the rest of their life eating, sleeping, mating, and defending like Grihamades. So as soon as there's the whole material world is existing on the principle of sex attraction, and as soon as there's combination of sex, I mean man and woman, then the next attraction is for home, land, children, society, wealth, bank balance, and so many things. Then extend it more: society, nationality, humanity, go on increasing. But they are not Atma Tattvam. They have nothing. All these things have nothing to do with Atma Tattvam, with the science of the soul. They are all grihesu, grihamedinam, extended selfishness and sense gratification. Just like a dog, he knows simply about his body. He won't allow another dog to come in his boundary. That is very poor selfishness. You extend it a little more to human society. There's family, wife, children. That is also extended selfishness. Then you further extend it. You have got society or nationality or ethnicity and this consciousness of nationality. That is also still further extended selfishness. Similarly, you extend the same propensity humanity-wise. So he says there's a whole class of men. They're interested in serving humanity. In other words, Manasa Seva is Madhava Seva. This is a wrong concept. Although big gurus espouse this concept in India. Manasa Seva is Madhava Seva. Serving mankind is serving God. But actually it's the opposite. Serving God is serving man. and serving mankind is not serving God, because what are you going to serve? You're going to serve sense gratification. See? So the dog has its boundary, and he won't let any other dog enter into his boundary. So that's what this extended selfishness is. Just like our Loki, our dog, or Kartikeya's dog at the farm. He, although his wife Lucy never does this, he goes out of the farm, and he goes left and he goes right, and he is mapping out his territory that he's not going to let any other dog in. That's why every day he'll go out like that. Well, he went too far, and he there's a dog kennel, not next to our property, but after that. And he went there, and he almost got into a fight with the other dogs, and the owner of that place got really upset. And see, you can't let a dog go without a leash in public, because he can hurt someone. Right? So then that lady called the dog police, and the dog police came, and now Loki is not allowed to go out at the farm. But why did he go out? He was mapping his territory, his boundary. That's what dogs do. They all have a certain boundary, right? And if any other dog comes in that boundary, they fight. So the same thing with human beings. So then it says, so what is their business? Those who are blind to Atma Tattva. So that business is described in the next verse. Nidraya hridaya naktam vyavayena chavabaya diva chartahaya rajan kutumba baranena va. So their business is very nicely explained. What is that? Nidraya, sleeping. Hridyate, they waste their life by sleeping at night. Nidraya hridyate naktam, or they waste their time in sex life. At night, there are two things. One has, if one doesn't have advantage of sex life, he simply sleeps alone. And if he's got advantage of sex life, he enjoys. So at night, they waste their life in this way, either sex or sleep. And their life is being wasted. And at daytime, diva chartahaya rajan. At the daytime, they're simply running after money. Where is money? Where is money? Artha. Artha means material benefit. So, to maintain the body, you have to have some money. So, diva chartahaya rajan. All right, if one gets money, then next, what? Kutumba baranenava. Then shopping. As soon as you get money, then you go shopping. The wife's bill. Yes. So in this way, day and night, they're simply under the impression of this bodily conception of life. Why they are doing that? Dehapatra kalatra disu atmasanyasu asatsvapi te sampramata nidhanam pasyan apina pasyati. This is the Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 1st chapter, verse number 3. They're attracted because they're attached to this body. They are attached because they're attached to this body, and anything that's extension of the body, like family, relatives, ethnicity, nationality, race, that's extension of the body. So they're attached to children, dehapatya, and apatya. The means children, and kalatra, wife, and dehapatra kalatra disu, atma sanyasu. Sanya means soldier. So these are what you call fallible soldiers. The children, the wife, the relatives, they're all fallible. Fallible means they're going to fail. So they're not real soldiers. They're like fake soldiers. You think that you'll take refuge in them and they'll save you, but they're not able to save you. They themselves can't save themselves. So when we struggle, when we fight, then we must have soldiers. So without soldiers, nobody fights. So the uh, the the man of the house, he takes shelter in these fallible soldiers, soldiers that are not actually fighters. They're actually cowards. So we're thinking this body, wife, children, home, country, society will save me. I am struggling against so many enemies. What is that struggling? I do not wish to die. That's the struggle. I do not wish to be diseased. That's the struggle. I do not wish to become old man. That's the struggle. Janra mityu jaravya di dukadosana darshanam. But everyone has to see birth, death, old age, and disease. They cannot avoid it, right? But they're struggling against it. I do not wish to die. I do not wish to be diseased. I do not wish to become old man. I don't wish to get birth again, or I want to stop birth, janma mrityu. I want to stop death. I want to stop disease. I want to stop old age. These are the activities or material activities that people are struggling against. And I am thinking that these soldiers, or this, my body, my wife, my children, will protect me. Dehapatra kalatra disu atmasanyasu satsu api. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.4. Although I am experiencing every day that they are asat, they do not exist, they will not exist. How do I know they will not exist? My father died, my elderly mother has died, my grandfather has died, therefore I will also die. And my next generation, they will also die. My wife will also die. So everybody will die. Asatsu api. They know by experience that they will not exist, but still their business has become to struggle for existence. Dehapatya kalatradisu. These are very important subject matter. Try to understand. We know that nobody will exist. I want to exist. That is my intention. I do not wish to die. I want to exist. But I know also that all these, my soldiers, family, relatives, so forth, including this stout, strong body of mine, it will also not exist. Dehapatra kalatra disu. Te sam pramata. So pramata, I become crazy. I become mad, going after sense gratification. And every day I'm seeing nidhanam pasyam. I'm seeing people are dying, but yet I don't believe it that it'll happen to me. Just like Maharaj Yudhisthira. He was questioned by Yamraj. What is the most wonderful thing in this world? Can you say? And Maharaj Yudhisthira said, yes. What is that? Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam. What is that? Every moment, every second, every day, every night, there are so many hundreds and thousands of living entities that are going to the temple of death or dying. Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti yamalayam. Yamalayam shesha stavaram ichanti. But one who is living, he is thinking that I will not die. I will live for good. That is the most wonderful thing in this world. Nobody is taking experience seriously. I will have to meet death. Everybody is going to die. And what is next after death? What I was before my birth, why I am here, why I'm struggling so hard. I want to be happy. I want to be peaceful. Why there is no peace? Why there is no happiness? Why these things? Why am I put into this situation? These are called Atma Tattvam, the science of the soul. These are called Brahma Jigyasa, knowledge of the of Brahman. If a man is not enlightened to this point of inquiring what I am, wherefore I have, or where did I come from? What is the world? What is this body? Why am I getting old? Why am I getting disease? So many whys there are. This is called Brahma Jigyasa. But they are pramata. They're crazy after the struggle for existence. Although they know nothing will exist. It has come just like a flash and it will end like a flash. then what is the actual platform of my life, my living condition? They do not inquire. They do not inquire. They're not interested in finding out the real truth. So grihe su griha medinam. These are the griha medis. They're so attached to family and mundane family life. They're not regulated properly. They're just interested in sleeping and sex and making money and shopping. There you have Walmart, you have QFC, you have Safeway, you have IKEA, all these places, big warehouses where you can go and shop and get deals, get discounts, and so forth. And to do that, you have to work really hard to get the money, and then you buy all the different gadgets. Okay, so this is a progression of what we heard yesterday, that, ya samohita jiva atmanam trigunatmakam paropi manute nartam tat kritam chabipadyate. 1.7.5 Srimad Bhagavatam. Due to the external energy, the living entity, although transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes the reactions of material miseries. So this is an extension of that, what Prabhupada explained yesterday in that other lecture. This is much more detail about the pramata, the craziness of people today. They're completely ignoring their Atma Tattva and just considering the Deha, the body. And it is a tragedy. So, okay, we'll stop right there. We'll go forward again tomorrow. There's more information about this subject. Are there any questions?
Atma can mean body or the mind, Jivatman or the Paramatma.
The word Atma has different meanings.
Yeah, I want to know, Uddharet Atman Atmanam, that verse in Bhagavad Gita, how has Prabhupada ji interpreted?
Which verse again?
Uddharet Atman Atmanam.
Oh yeah, okay, so that is in the 7th chapter, I think. Let me see, find it real quick. Udara sarva evaite gyani twatmaiva me matam astita sahi yuktatma mam evan utamam gatim. Is that the verse? Oh, okay, no, okay, that's the 6th chapter, okay. Sorry. Bandur atmanat manastasya yenait maivatmana jiva anatmanas tu satrutve vartitatmaiva satravat. Oh, udarad atmanatmanam natmanam avasadayat atmaiva hi atmano bandur atmaiva ripur atmana. That verse. Yeah. It says, one must deliver himself with the help of. Okay? Yes. Yeah. Now, the mind is the center of all activity. So, the mind that's attached to Maya will lead person, to destruction. Right? And the mind that's attached to Krishna will lead them back to Godhead. So it all depends on what's going on in the mind. Right? So that's explained in the purport. Prabhupada says the word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul, depending upon different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important. Since the mind is the central point of yoga practice, Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and to draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained that it can deliver the conditioned soul from the mire, or meaning dirt, of nescience or ignorance. In material existence, one is subjected to the influence of the mind and the senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with the false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so that it will not be attracted by the glitter of material nature, and in this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one is attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point. That is, that one must do this. It is also said, Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo bandhaya vishaya sango muktyai nirvishayam mana. For man, mind is the cause of bondage, and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from sense objects is the cause of liberation. This is from the Amrita Bindu Upanishad. Therefore, the mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of supreme liberation. Prabhupada nailed it right there. Yes. Haribol. You see, there's no difference between Ramanuja and Sri Vaishnavas and Gaudiya Vaishnavas. There's no difference in the there might be a difference in sampradaya, but not in the philosophy. So there's sampradaya and there's what's called there's sampradaya is one thing, and the other is the Atma Tattva, or the science of the soul. So the science of the soul is the same philosophy. Sampradaya might be different, but the philosophy is the same. Yeah. Okay, so we'll stop right there. Haribol. Very interesting subjects. You see how detailed Prabhupada is in explaining these things. Now, family is not a defect or not a handicap if it's regulated in the family for spiritual life. But if it's not, then it's grihamedi. It's just regulated for sense gratification, and it's very, very detrimental. So therefore, that grihamedi lifestyle is the worst thing for spiritual life. Worst thing. An attachment to that family. And that was Arjuna's problem. He had a bodily attachment to his family. And then because of that, he refused to follow Krishna's order. But once Krishna elevated him to the spiritual level by answering all his questions, then Arjuna was willing to follow Krishna's order without false attachment to the family. So there's real attachment and false attachment. There's real family life and false family life. We have to understand these things. Otherwise, people say, oh, Hare Krishnas, they're against the family. We're not against the family. We're against the Grihamedi family. We're not against the Grihastha ashram family.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, one question. Maharaj, in the Grey Medis, we have seen they are, sometimes they are more regulated, like Grey Medis, like they are sleeping.
No, they're regulated for sense gratification.
Like more than sometimes neophyte, like they are sleeping at same time, getting up same time, working more better than the neophyte who is trying. So how they get this much determination as compared to a neophyte? At least for something they are regulated.
They have love for sex. So because that love for sex, they're regulated. But we have love for Krishna. So it's a different regulation. If your main thought is sex, then you're going to work really hard, right? We were talking about Jamshi Ji Tata yesterday, right? He's a nonsense guy. He's working day and night to industrialize India and ruin the whole culture of the country. You know, he was like the hero of Nehru and all the materialists because he industrialized India. He was a nonsense, but yet he's glorified as a hero. You know, Jamshedji. You know him? You've read about him, huh? Yeah, but they've ruined India with all this industrialization. Very bad thing. But they're glorified as if they're really great people. You know, they're just materialists. They have no real spiritual, let's say, benefit, because they're making people work in these factories and ruining their lives, thinking that economic development is what's going to save the country. At least the Birlas, they don't make Krishna temple, they make Birla temple. They just put Krishna there, but it's actually Birla temple, right? At least they do something, you know, with their money. What does Tata do? You know, he's just trying to help people materially, but he's exploiting them so that they become richer. Right? And then some people, you know, their lives become materially better, but not spiritually better. So, anyway, that's another subject. But we see that our main, that they can get regulated, the people that are seeking sex, they can also get regulated, but it's for sense gratification. That means they're going to work really hard, they're going to get organized, they're going to make factories, they're going to make products. But the devotees are regulated not because they love sex, because they love Krishna. It's a difference. Haribol. And it's a big difference. It's a big difference. That's why two people may be doing the same work, but one is Krishna conscious and the other is a karmi. Haribol. Okay, I'll leave. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Satma Bando Mui Savadana Mate Bando Mui Savadana Mate Janara Prasade Bhai He Bhavatori Ajay Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Arana Koriya Mane Asa Arana Koriya Mane Asa Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttamagati Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasa Ye Prasade Pure Sarvasa Chakshutana Dila Jay Janme Prabhu say Chakshudana Dila Jay Janme Prabhu say Divya Gyani De Prakasito Divya Gyani De Prakasito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasahajate Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasahajate Vedega Janara Charito Vedega Janara Charito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhana Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhana Janara Bandhu Lokena Lokera Jivana Lokena Lokera Jivana Ha Prabhu Koradoya Dehamure Padachaya Ha Prabhu Koradoya Dehamure Padachaya Ebeya Sakusekji Bhuvana Ebeya Sakusekji Bhuvana Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Pararajagachasta, Tarasatra Shishi Shimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gokopinath, Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Shri Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Tulasi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Bhajarani Nirvisesa Sunimani Paskatya Desatarine Gaur Premanandi Haribo Haribo Haribo. The Lotus Feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet, great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread through all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada, Patita Bhavan, Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi, Haribo, Namo Om Vishnu Namaste, Saraswati Devi Paskatya Desatarine.